Streaming 21 days in a row. Brought to you by HEB Sparkling Water. Shout out to HEB. And first up, we're going to give a huge shout out to Ben Marks, whose dog, Cooper, was in a Subaru commercial. And just pretty wild. Pretty awesome. I'm not going to play the video because my system will get overloaded if I play video at the same time. Oh, but check out those pictures. So that's pretty freaking awesome. And the dog is like missing a leg and stuff. And so it's just really cool. That's freaking awesome, man. Freaking sweet. Let me test real quick. Just want to test to see that I can see the chats coming through. See if I can see these chats. Do a quick test. Oh yeah, I have to refresh my restream as per usual. Because if I don't refresh it, I don't see nothing. I don't see nothing. Do I see it? So I don't see any YouTube messages. That's a bummer. Yeah, you guys might have been chatting with me. Oh, okay, I see the YouTube messages. Little delay there, but in the end, they did come in, which is cool. So, boop. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm not streaming on Periscope today because the Periscopes don't get that many views anyways, and I'm posting more videos to my feed, so I kind of figured, like, I don't want to be posting. I'm thinking maybe I should post like a max of like 2 videos a day. Even that might be overkill, maybe 1. So the little clips, edited clips, seem to be working a lot better. So I think I'm going to just do this over on YouTube and Twitch. And yeah, so anywho. All right, first up, Stillness. Let me pull this up on the screen. Let me pull this up. Load it up. Okay, so, all right. Page layout is a little rough on tablet view. That's okay. I was looking at this at full desktop view earlier. But that's okay. So I picked up the latest book by Ryan Holiday, Stillness. And I've read a couple of his other books. I've read The Obstacle's the Way and Ego's the Enemy, which were both really good. I got to pick up Trust Me, I'm Lying in Conspiracy. So I'm just getting started on it, and I'm excited, super excited. Stillness. It talks about, it's kind of about things like meditation, but more sort of broad than that, and which is a cool approach. I saw him talk about it on a couple of podcasts, and one of the things, I've only listened to 30 minutes so far of the audiobook, but one of the things he talked about, which I thought was really insightful, was if you've ever tried to to meditate or whatever, it can be really hard, and you're sitting there just literally trying to sit still for 10 minutes, and it's just brutal. And one of the things he said is that what might be the best first step for somebody might not be to meditate for 10 minutes. It might actually be to take a walk. Because those are all essentially under the umbrella of stillness, of cultivating more stillness in your life, where you're not so frantic and jumping from one thing to another and distracted. So this idea of the sort of a spectrum of stillness, and on the way far end are the hardcore, monks that meditate for 16 hours straight, but then the other end of the spectrum, you take a 5-minute walk and get a little bit of sort of stillness in your life, and whatnot. So the the ironic thing is that, so first of all, I listen to audiobooks. I can't sit down and read a book, which is problem number one. Number two, I'm listening to the audiobook, and I'm used to listening to podcasts, and podcasts are kind of they're a little more, they're a little punchier, they're a little bit, faster moving and whatnot. And so I'm listening to the book, and it's a bit slower paced. The content is more obviously thought out and serious and stuff, and I'm having a hard time just listening to the audiobook, because it's easier for me to listen to podcasts that kind of keep my brain firing a little faster. So it's ironic that like I've started listening to it a couple of times, and like I can't even listen to the audiobook because I'm so like antsy or whatever. So but I want to get there. I know it's going to be a great book. I've seen again a couple podcasts on it, and I know it's going to be an awesome book. So hopefully I'll be sharing some of the insights on that as I go. All right. Next up. Okay. Next up, quantity of content. So one thing I think I heard on a Gary Vee podcast recently, he was talking about quantity versus quality, which I think he has some great perspectives on. And he basically said, you can't post too much, because social media algorithms are designed to take your content, find out who it's relevant to based on whatever, based on the nature of the content, keywords in it, hashtags, and then show it to the people that are the most likely to be interested in it. And I was like, that makes sense. And so I started posting more frequently on LinkedIn, and I think it's working. Although it's funny, today I saw a comment from somebody that said, "How do I unsubscribe from your posts?" which was a little discouraging. But overall, like I posted a couple of text posts, a couple of video posts on LinkedIn, and I do think that their algorithm, shows the right people the right stuff, kind of a thing. That said, there's probably some people are going to say, "Dude, you're posting too much." So there's always that argument. Now, the ironic thing is that, so Twitter, for example, which is a more chronological feed. I know Twitter also has an algorithm, which I think that if you don't log in frequently, they show you algorithm-driven results, and if you do log in frequently, they just show you chronological, which is kind of perfect. So for me, it's all chronological, and there is a point at which when people post too much, even if I'm interested in what they have to say, if they just post too much, it's just too much. Like actually Gary Vee, who I'm a big fan of, and I listen to his podcast, I watch his YouTubes frequently. I don't follow him on Twitter because it's just too much stuff, and it's a lot of sports stuff and whatnot. And so it's just for what I'm looking for in my Twitter feed, it's just a bit overkill. And so I think that it depends on which platform you're talking about. And I know some people might be like yelling at the screen going, "Dude, you're posting too much." I've actually been trying to be a lot more mindful when I'm posting to Twitter. I'm doing a lot more replies than retweets and posts, because if you reply to someone, it only shows other people who follow them. So you can engage with people without necessarily blowing up your feed. And, like for example, today I didn't do the Periscope because Periscope posts a video to my feed. And like I said, I want to limit on Twitter to maybe 1 or 2 videos a day. Maybe 1 is better, but like, so if I'm doing and these clips I'm doing, I think are working better and are more relevant. They have captions. So I think that it's just a better experience for somebody reading their feed. So I'm getting rid of that one because I think it's just noise. And instead I'll do 1 or 2 of the video clips with captions, which I think make more sense. So I'm really trying to be mindful of it. I know I'm posting somewhat frequently, but trying to be mindful of it. So, anyways, I think that if you are posting on an algorithm-driven site, you can maybe go. And it's interesting because Gary Vee on LinkedIn, and I don't look at my LinkedIn feed that much, but when I do look at it, I'll usually see like a lot of times I'll see one of his posts at the top of my feed, and it's usually an interesting post to me. It's usually relevant, and I'm like, cool, and I just see like one at a time. So, and then other people I interact with frequently, I'll see them. So I think that if it is algorithm driven, you probably can err on the side of posting quantity. And the other thing that Gary says, which I agree with, is that quantity is quality in the sense that by posting frequently, you iterate quickly and you learn quickly and you adapt quickly, which helps you ultimately increase your quality. Now, if you're just pumping out a whole bunch of nonsense, quantity, of course, that's not quality. But and I've seen this, as I've been iterating frequently on these videos, like I'm seeing like the video clips with the captions and things are working better. So I'm learning that, and that's improving quality and things like that. So anyways, there is something really interesting there. All right, next up. So this is really fun. I was working with my daughter yesterday on her very first Google Doc. So, my daughter does writing and stuff like that, and we want her to be writing on a daily basis. So she'll write little stories. Like this was a story about Judy at the candy shop and jelly beans and stuff like that. And so she is writing it by hand, and of course my wife is a big fan of handwriting and learning the art of writing. And my wife is more into the classical elements of education, and I'm like, let's get her on social media, let's teach her how to type, let's all those things. And so finding a balance with it. But so I said, hey, why don't you take something you wrote and let's put it on the computer. So she did that yesterday. It was really cool. And then also one thing I've been thinking about is like, spelling, for example. We're teaching her spelling. That's one of the standard, things that you learn in school. And I'm going to myself, how important is it to really learn spelling in the sense of memorizing all these, like in a day and age where you've got voice to text, where you've got, really good grammar checkers and spell checkers. Obviously, if you know nothing at all and rely completely on spell checkers, it's going to show. But if if you can rely on spell checkers for 80% and then learn the 20% of the things that spell checkers can't know, like it's versus it's and the different versions of there and things like that, is that a more effective way to focus? And so anyway, so she used voice to text to write this on the Google Doc on her Chromebook, and then she went in and we went in and corrected the grammar and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, I need a period here, and oh, I need quotes here. And then on the Google Doc, I shared it to myself and pulled it up on my phone. So we're collaborating right next to each other in real time on the phone. And she would change something and I'd see it here. And then I'd say, oh, let's capitalize this. And then I would capitalize it for her and she'd see it on her thing. It was like this really magical moment of collaborating together. And, she had a lot of fun with it. And then, she wanted to put a picture in the doc. And of course she wanted to make the text pink. So that's the next thing we're going to do is make the text pink. So that was a lot of fun. I got a reply from Mark here. That's amazing. Homeschooling feels like the startup equivalent of schooling because you have such a small class. You can try new things. I was lucky enough to be homeschooled K through 12 and credited for being able to get into computers at an early age. Yeah, totally. It's very much like a startup thing in the sense that you can just try things, you can experiment. So yeah, that was really fun. All right. Next up, playing with Airtable. Let me pull this up. So I'm experimenting with logging in. I'm trying to be careful on these screen shares that it's very easy to accidentally share something, and these are live streams, so I want to be careful. So I was not logging in to anything in a fresh Chrome browser, but I really want to share some stuff that are obviously behind account logins. So I'm in my logged in account here. But anyways, okie doke. So Airtable. So I've talked about this a little bit. I've been doing this content and building out a team that's doing video editing and writing and clips for Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and things like that. I've been thinking like, oh man, it'd be cool to turn this into a productized service. I've also been looking at no code tools recently. And I was like, I wonder if I could build out like a little workflow in Airtable. And I'd heard really good things about Airtable. Hadn't really played with it yet. So I just played with that yesterday, and I just want to show what I got here so far. It's really cool. It's really neat. So basically, for my workflow, why does this just say topics? What about the source content? Oh, this is okay. So on the tab, so I'm used to the desktop view. The tablet view is a little different. So, what is all this stuff going to the last one? Oh, I know what's happening here. Okay, so this is my first little bug in my workflow. Okay, so my workflow is that I record this live stream, and then the live stream posts automatically to YouTube. And then I created in Zapier, a Zap, which takes any new videos from YouTube and automatically funnels them into Airtable. So my workflow is I have my source content, which I should probably delete. I don't know if I'm deleting. So ignore these records. I have my source content, which is the main live stream, which is the 20 or 30 minute thing, which with individual topics. From there, Video Editor cuts up the individual topic clips and turns them into topical video clips that are edited down with jump cuts to remove the dead space and things like that. I think the kids are yelling in the background there. And so then from there, so I have two tables. So source content is my first table. And then topics are, how do I get into topics? Okay. Topics are the individual topics that are included in each main source content. I probably need better words for these things because it's a little confusing. So now here's the grid view, and you can easily group. You can easily do a grouping. So this is doing a grouping by parent. So on the topic table, I created a field called parent, which is super easy to do. It just is a lookup table. It's a lookup table, and then it's just Airtable is super user friendly. You can create obviously text fields. You can easily create, let me just make this a little smaller. You can easily create select options for different things. So these are my statuses. So the source content gets turned into the individual clips. Then there's a status on the individual clip. Is it edited? Is it complete? And then the writer can go in there and write the actual content for the video, and then as we post it to LinkedIn, boom, you create a little checkbox field, and then other things for the workflow, and then you can create views. You can easily create different views. So, for example, I can have a view which specifically is showing video clips. And so this is a view for my video editor, which can show, for example, I can pull out the fields related to writing, the writing statuses, and I can just show the status of the video clip. And then I can also easily filter this. So I can say, okay, let me exclude, what's going on here? Let me exclude, where's this? Oh, video editor status. Now, this is a lot harder to use on tablet. I'm used to using it on desktop here. Let me just zoom it down a little bit. So where video editor is, let's say, is not complete. Boom. And it's just so friendly. It's so smooth. It's so fluid to use. So now I got this view. So for my workflow, I record the stream, automatically goes to Zapier, automatically gets fed into Airtable. I can feed that into a view that's for my video editor. I can have a separate view for my writer, which only is going to show video clips that are completed, and then she can write the titles, the descriptions. Then she can post to LinkedIn. She can update the status of that, and then I can have a dashboard for myself, which shows, the total big picture. So it's a neat little workflow here. And now the first issue is that these are the individual clips, and they're getting fed into, this is funny. So I was curious how this worked. So this current stream on YouTube got fed into Airtable already. So it looks like it feeds it in when the live stream starts as opposed to when it finishes, which is kind of neat. So these individual clips, as they're published on YouTube, are also getting fed in to here, which I don't want because these are not the source content. These are the topics. So I might be able to add some logic in Zapier to do something like, only pay attention to, like, I need to see if I can add some custom logic in Zapier. But yeah, really, really fun to work with there. And all right, next up. Boom, boom, boom. Next up, Facebook inflating viewership. So a tweet from Scott Galloway. The viewership metrics were inflated by 150% to 900%. Whole companies shifted their strategy to video. Companies going bankrupt, people losing jobs. Facebook gets away with 0.18% of annual income, which is a slap on the wrist. So I guess they had to pay they're going to pay a $40 million settlement for inflate. I glanced at the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know how authoritative this is, but I glanced at the article, and it said that they're like, I don't know that they went in and like, we're going to purposefully, inflate these numbers. It said that they were told that numbers were correct and they didn't act quickly enough to fix them or whatnot. So, it's funny because Scott Galloway has some brilliant analysis on, the tech industry in general, and is like a brilliant guy. And I go back and forth between thinking like he's completely brilliant and sort of thinking like he just sort of like likes to, complain about things and find like incendiary things to say about tech companies. Because like, here's the deal, like companies going bankrupt, people losing jobs, any advertiser that's advertising based on video views is completely doing it wrong. Like I'm not a sophisticated advertiser. I've dabbled a tiny bit, but rule number one is that you don't optimize for views or you optimize for actual business results. So if there's a company that went bankrupt because they were relying on view metrics and not looking at all at sales that were driven from ad campaigns, like you sort of, I'm not trying to be too much of a jerk here, but you're kind of, you're not doing your advertising very effectively at that point. So, is it bad that they're inflating those numbers? Of course, that's not good. That should be corrected. And in general, I've heard that, Facebook ad analytics are kind of just a nightmare overall. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I see that argument because anyway, again, like you have to be looking at business results with any ad campaign. So that's all I got to say about that. That is all I have to say about that. Next up, brainstorming ideas for building a website. Okay, so this is kind of fun. So I was making my website in Webflow and having fun with it. My KalenJordan.com website. And I was like, it'd be kind of neat to make a website for somebody. and then like live stream it like as a use case of using Webflow and seeing how quickly you could make stuff. And so I put some feelers out. Mark replied back and said he was interested, and he kind of has a similar style to me as far as like what I did, where it's my website is kind of businessy, but also kind of, sarcastic and whatnot. So I feel like, I feel like we have a similar style there. And so, it's so interesting because I was starting to brainstorm yesterday, and, I was like going, okay, what would his headline be? What would the sections be on his website? And I started putting a Google Doc together, and I remembered, for example, this thing that he tweeted recently. I talked to a bunch of my friends in e-commerce about their developers, and you were the only one people said they didn't hate. Was what a client said to him, which I thought was great. And anyways, but the point is that it's so cool how much, like, I feel like I can build this website without actually asking Mark a single question about what do you want on your website, and da 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 da, and what tone do you want to go for. Obviously I know Mark well, and but like social media is so powerful, because I was also thinking like, I was like, oh yeah, I know Mark is really into cats. Like maybe the hero shot could be like a picture of him with a cat. And I'm like, oh man, I got to ask him for photos. But then I was like, oh no, he has an Instagram account. So Instagram was a great source of like a lot of cool photography. Obviously Twitter is a great source for, different ideas and things like that, different content. And then LinkedIn is a great source for professional information, kind of summary of what he does, and then stuff that he's done. Like I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the Partner for Good program that he put together. That would be cool to highlight. Obviously his website has some great content on it, and some talks that he's given. I'm imagining like, okay, maybe a shot of him giving a talk and things like that. He's talked about his stroke before really publicly, and I think that's an important part of his story, and I think somehow highlighting that could be interesting. So anyways, I was just brainstorming, and I was like, man, it's so social media is so powerful to kind of see a picture of a person if you really want to dive deep. Like you can really like it's funny because I haven't built a website for somebody in, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And back in the day, I did freelance work. I worked at an agency before I was in Magento. And so, the discovery process is always like a hassle. You got to ask a million questions, and they always say things that don't make any sense. And you have to kind of read their mind. And it's just this process. Like discovery was just the worst part of any project. But then now I'm like, dude, this is like, discovery is like fun and like easy. And like, there's like a treasure trove of information that you can kind of pull from, which by definition is all publicly facing information. So, that, that it's all safe to share publicly, essentially. So anyways, so hopefully I'll live stream that sometime soon and just try to stand up a website for him and have fun with that. So that is all I have for today. 29 minutes, not too shabby. What day is it? Monday. I'm losing track of the days here because my mornings are the same every single day of the week. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.